What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord Dr. Professor Dark Joker here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are traditional fans with opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Arknights, Season 3, Episodes 8 through 10, and full season. So these three episodes, they deal with like the end of like Tala's like, her villainy as she like gradually becomes more like insane stuff, also with Amiya having to fight, and then also with Chernobog, Chin, all that. It's basically these episodes conclude off. So basically you have all these fights between all the factions involved. And then, basically once it all ends, the doctor you have the Doctor and Amiya reunite and all that, and then this sets up like I guess a future battle, for control of Victoria, and so like basically next big fight is like set up, and yeah, so I enjoyed these episodes, so yeah I like these, like how they set up everything, like how they end. So yeah, and as far as the season was fine. It's not as strong as the seasons before, but I thought this was a decent season. So I liked it. Tougen Anki episodes 7 through 9. So in these episodes we see the Momotaro and Oni are fighting in Kyoto. So we see one character named Kuina trying to help Rokuro Kiriyama recover and whatever, and it's like very funny where like basically guess she has a Kuina has like a very protective nature, and when she's beaten up, Rokuro remembers some of his past, and so he like tries to then tries to protect Kuina, and he uses his blood release technique. Then we see Shiki fight Subakiri, who's like the basically the guy who planned everything, who controlled all the corpses. And he does it to like protect May, the little girl who lost her parents. And then we see also the Kyoto branch fighting. We see Jin and Yomogi fighting. And yeah, so we see a lot of stuff going on, So basically, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of fights going on in Kyoto. So with between the Momotaro and the Oni. So there's an issue with the seal that has to be dealt with. But yeah, I really like these three episodes. Liked all the fights, like all the new characters they introduced. Then all the stuff with Shiki. His fight with Subakiri. Big fan of all that. So yeah, I really like these episodes. Looking forward to the next one. Kurumizawa's Folly, Chapter 1. So this is a new series that started by Suishia. So basically, in this one, you have there's like an aging, manga artist named Yoshihiko Kurumizawa, who drew a bunch of good manga in the past, but I guess like his style is believed by a lot of the editors to have aged out. That basically it's behind the times, and he doesn't and basically like guess his writing like is not well liked by I guess is built according to like the people who run the publishers. His writing is not well liked, I guess, by younger people. Now he meets like this factory worker who can't read and write, but can draw really well. He was like a big fan of his work, named Kinsaku Hada. And once he sees like his work, basically after Hada tries to throw stuff out after being rejected so many times, throws something, picks up, likes the guys what he says. His idea, he wants and basically Hada was a big fan of Kurumizawa. So what the idea is for Kurumizawa to help Kinsaku get better at writing manga, at making manga, and basically he'll draw it. Like basically Hada could draw it. I guess Kurumizawa will write it since he can actually write. And then yeah, so basically, yeah, so and basically, technically Kurumizawa will be taking a rookie's work under his name. Basically, what the issue is that apparently science fiction doesn't break through as well with the younger people as it used to. Well, I guess in this manga's world that's the case. In real life, that's a freaking lie. I guess you may think about the old space opera stuff. I can maybe see where they're coming from, even though I think that's a lie. I think good sci-fi will appeal to audiences regardless. But yeah, so I think yeah, so I like this chapter. I like the interesting way of setting up like the which is basically the partnership between these two. See why it sets up. So Hada does want to surpass Kurumizawa someday. Kurumizawa is like shocked by it. Like the panel, like the way the artwork is like, okay, is this gonna be some psychological thing, or is this like gonna be like them like actually working together and stuff? Both things could happen. But yeah, I like this chapter. It's about basically the manga writing process. So that interests me, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter. The Roots of To Your Eternity. So this is a documentary that goes through the development of the manga and anime To Your Eternity, written by Yoshitoki Oima. So this goes into a little bit of Oima's career leading up to when she created To Your Eternity, then all the production process of the anime, and basically how they handle when it aired on TV, you know all the voice acting, the music, which is a great freaking soundtrack. The animation's great, and basically then like it goes to like all the stuff like it's meant to help promote season three, which premieres in October of this year, and then this goes into all that. So like leading up into so it gives like a few scenes. It looks like a few clips of stuff that are going to be in season three. They're in the modern, you know, basically all of a sudden it takes place in like the modern era because you have all the stuff going on. So yeah, so I would say I really enjoy this documentary. I like seeing like all stuff that went on with To Your Eternity because it is a great series. Very dark, like very dark, like very tragic. Some of the stuff that happens. And so this documentary, I really liked. I liked how they went into everything. So yeah, I highly recommend, and I am looking forward to Your Eternity season three. Lilo and Stitch live action. So this is a live action remake of the classic Lilo and Stitch cartoon movie. Now, the changes this does, well, you have Gantu's not in the movie, so the main villain's not in the movie, and so basically, and Jumba is made the villain. Like he's one who takes Stitch up in he takes Stitch up into like the sky. Basically, all of Gantu's stuff is basically given to Jumba. And Jumba, instead of having like an Eastern European like accent or whatever, he sounds like an American. I'm like part of Jumba's charm was his accent because that's where a lot of humor came from, just in what he said and sounding that way. And yes, this took out a lot. So for Pleakley and Jumba, when they did disguises, they basically did like a hologram thing. They didn't let them actually look like aliens wearing like disguises because that was part of the humor in the cartoons. the cartoon franchise is that yeah, they were clearly not human, but their disguises were able to trick some people. And basically this so obviously there's some things that can't translate to live action, so a lot of like the way facial expressions worked, a lot of the visuals couldn't really translate to live action. That's why the visuals don't look as good. Obviously, the voice for Stitch was done right because they got the original voice actor, I believe. As far as the humans go, the acting goes, I outside the voice actor for Stitch, it didn't sound like there was really effort put in. Like, obviously the little girl played Lilo, so he's like a kid, I'm not gonna expect much out of like a little kid. I mean, I'm not. I mean, she's a little kid. Obviously there's only so much you can ask of a kid, and but the other ones, and then they have like where David, I guess, has like his mother, grandmother, or something helping out, and basically instead of like, and so Cobra's not the main social worker. It's like this one lady. Cobra basically gets added on as like an undercover one to like keep an eye on Stitch, and he kind of does that after throughout the end of the movie. Basically, so he's like an active CIA asset who should not be operating on U.S. soil, mind you, because CIA is not supposed to operate on U.S. soil, as NCIS likes to remind us in that TV show a lot. And so, obviously, this still has some of the Elvis music. Thankfully, I was very concerned. So the only reason I'm watching this is because it really said I wasn't planning on spending money to go to a movie theater and watch it. I was gonna wait till it appeared on Disney Plus, and that's what I did. I will say, thankfully, they kept the Elvis music. That I would have been pissed off if they took away Elvis. I'm like, don't take away Elvis. Replace it with some current day nonsense. Because I was concerned they were gonna do that and like basically like replace Elvis with like Taylor Swift or something, or Beyonce, Madonna, or Green Day, or like a One Direction, some pop thing. I'm like, no, no, don't do that crap. Thankfully, they kept Elvis, because Elvis is very important to it, and so the writing's just not as good. Like, and so in the original movie, so Nani and Lilo are able to stay there due to like basically Nani's able to find a job, you know, and she's like basically she's able to find a job, and then basically Cobra is able to work something out to help Nani be able to stay, and which allows her to keep taking care of Lilo. This one, no, this has Nani leave to go to college and Lilo to be taken care of by David and like his mother. And yeah, I'm like, hang on, this was an option? Like, I'm like, this was an option? I mean, I've been like, hey, if this was an option, shouldn't this been, wouldn't it, in reality, would this been brought up a while ago? I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, a family friend who's willing to help out, has means to help out, it seems like. And yeah, I mean, I'm like, you didn't bring it took you how long to bring this up? I mean, it's like a lot of the, 'cause I think it was like in the original movie, like, why be like, it didn't seem to be a way for anyone to, like, it didn't seem like there was anyone to take care of Lilo in the original movie. But, the way it's like, obviously, if you have a lot of locals, probably where everyone knows each other and all that. So, like, but, not everyone necessarily had the means to take care of Lilo in the original like animated franchise. So I mean, it's like like at least not anyone who was close enough to Nani and Leela to where they'd be willing. I mean, David probably didn't have the means. But it seems like this movie he and his mother do. So it's like, okay, what the frick? Yeah, I didn't like this movie. I thought it was boring, thought the acting was bad. I mean, amongst the humans, the kid who played Lilo did the most seemed to do the most effort. Like amongst the human actors, the one like well, okay, the ones who were playing humans, the one who played Lilo seemed to put forth the most effort. None of the others, I don't know. I mean, this is a soulless remake. It wasn't good. I didn't like it. Like, just watch the original. The original is so much better. You know, yeah, I cannot recommend this. I don't know how in the world this thing reached $1 billion. Lie of the World. So this, tells the life of, the ministry of Jesus Christ through the eyes of, the Apostle John, you know, who in the Bible is also called the disciple who Jesus loved. Basically, he's believed to be the youngest of the 12, which is why he's kind of portrays like a kid, like a kind of like a teenager, even though in real life that he actually couldn't because so in the Bible so Peter is the only disciple who's shown to be old enough to pay taxes. So like Peter was the oldest because Peter was married. Basically he had which you could people married young then, but he also paid taxes. Where in like in the one where Jesus has to like basically he gets a coin from like a fish's mouth where to pay taxes for him and Peter, not for the other 11. So all the other disciples, the besides Peter, the other 11 were too young to pay for taxes. So and John's believed to be the youngest. So portraying disciples as younger actually does make sense. And with life expectancy, people didn't live as long back then. And you have like a lot of the stuff that and so one of the things it does has Zebedee, the father of James and John. He portrays like an unbeliever. There's not a lot known about Zebedee besides he was the father of James and John, so I can't really say whether he was a believer or not. Probably was because basically about every Jew that time period was a believer, even though that family, house of Zebedee, was from Capernaum, which was in northern Israel, which northern Israel interacted a lot more with foreigners than the south, like which is you know which was the which for reference is the context behind Nathaniel's quote, "Does anything good come out of Galilee?" Because while the southern Jews did not trust the northern Jews because they interacted a lot with foreigners, and you had a lot of your old commandment, the Old Testament commandments about Jews interacting with foreigners. That was that was the way things were back then. Not saying it was right, not saying it's wrong. Just saying that is how things were. A lot of things were interpreted back then, especially given what led to the Babylonian exile. Anyway, so this portrays a lot of things. So you had John and Andrew being at the wedding in Cana where Jesus turned water to wine, and so we see like after the miracle of like the fish being caught, we see, Jesus recruits John, his brother James, Peter, and Andrew. And Peter and Andrew were like other fishermen, Andrew being Peter's brother and being a disciple of John the Baptist in real life. And Apostle John was believed to be another disciple of John the Baptist in history. Like some people believe he was, which would explain how he knew a servant of the high priest, since a lot of the Pharisees and their servants probably came across John Baptist, his disciples, and if Apostle John was a disciple of John the Baptist in the history, that would have explained how he knew a servant of the high priest. Now, the whole him knowing servant of the high priest, that's not brought up. Now, Peter denying Jesus 3 times, that is mentioned. Now, one of the things they did not do, which I am shocked, is the running towards the tomb. So 3 days later, at three, on the third day, Easter Sunday, Jesus, resurrects. They didn't show John and Peter running towards the tomb. I am shocked they left that out. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm like, you have Peter and John running towards the tomb with John winning the race. Although it wasn't a race, John just made it there first. I I don't think they should have left that out. But I mean, my opinion, a lot. So in my opinion, if you're gonna, it is hard to cover the life of Jesus Christ in one movie. Like you would need like a Lord of the Rings like length movie to probably cover like a bunch of Jesus's life, and which is why you have TV shows like The Chosen, which is TV shows probably more better format for covering the life of Jesus because one, the Bible is very episodic. The Bible as a whole is very episodic, and like with the amount of content there is. So yeah, and I'll say the voice acting, the animation, and the music are phenomenal. Like the animation's really good in this. The voice acting's very good, and the music's very good. So I give the studio a lot of praise for that. And obviously, the mother of James and John's portrayed as being like very like faithful, which in the Bible, which she's only shown like briefly in the New Testament. Like basically, the only time she's shown is when she asked Jesus to have James and John sit at his right and left hand, and Jesus, that bit's left out. I was surprised it left out because that is something that is very important with those two's history. The Sons of Thunder. James, of course, James and John, they were part of like the leading group of the 12. So basically, you had your main three were Peter, James, and John. And Andrew was kind of like the fourth guy. He was like amongst like the big three. Peter was kind of like basically Andrew was kind of like the fifth Beatle of those three. And we never saw the Transfiguration, which that was where Peter, James, and John saw Elijah and Moses. So there was some important stuff with John, Apostle John, that they left out. So I will criticize this movie for that. It left a lot of important stuff out with that. And I feel like if you're gonna show it, I think you could have done a times jump to show John, on that island in his exile when he meets Jesus, to basically to where he writes the book, Jesus gives him all the words, just stuff to write the book of Revelation. That's something that probably should have been included. But I thought this was okay. A lot of stuff being left out. I think with this being a kids movie, they wanted it to be short, which is understandable. Attention spans and all that. But I think you, I think you should like there was some stuff that they left out that should have been included in a movie about the life of Jesus, and especially the especially should be shown if Apostle John is the point of view character. So yeah, I say this was overall due to stuff being left out. It was mid, but what we did get was relatively fine. Yeah, like the stuff with Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus was good. Like the way those two are portrayed are great. I don't know if Joseph of Arimathea was ever blind. Like I don't know if that was ever a thing. I just may not remember, but I don't recall it being a thing. But yeah, so and the way Caiaphas and Pontius Pilate are portrayed are great. Like they're done very well. But I would say this was mid. Well, and that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.